All right, so here's probably the most popular first-time buyer program in Washington, D.C. This is incredibly similar to Virginia's, so it's also smoking hot, and it's gonna let you buy with as little as 0% down. It's called DC Open Doors. And just like with Virginia, you can even get some, most, or all of your closing costs paid for. And this is all without even being a veteran. All right, now, there's another DC program called HPAP. It can get you a bit more money, but there's a lot more hoops to jump through with that. And I'll have a video out on that shortly if it's not already posted. But back to DC Open Doors. In this video, I'm going to show you all you need to know about it and even show you the math behind how much you would need to bring for closing day or not for a sample purchase price. And for 2023, you can buy a home worth up to a little over $748,000 with this program. And that number rises usually every year. But without this program, you would have to save 3% for a down payment on a conventional conforming loan or 3.5% on an FHA loan. And that's before accounting for another 3% or so in closing costs and prepaids. So without seller help, you could need to save 6 or 7% of the purchase price to buy that's not using this program. Now, for structure, there's a few different ways you can do this. The most common way is to not bring a down payment, but to have then 2 loans combining for 100% of the purchase price. The second way is then to have the program cover your minimum 3 or 3.5% down payment. So you don't bring one, but that amount of money you're given doesn't stay with you forever. Okay, you have to pay it back if you refinance, move out of the home as a primary residence, pay the loan off, sell it. And in those cases, you probably won't have to come out of pocket, luckily, to pay back that assistance money. It will most likely be just deducted out of your proceeds of whatever transaction that ends up being. Then there's a third way to do it. This is very rare. It's really just for DC employees where they get an interest rate discount and a bit more help on the down payment. Call me if you're in that boat and I'll tell you more about that option. All right, now let's take a look at the closing day numbers for this with a $375,000 purchase price. All right, a 3.5% down FHA loan means roughly 13 grand down and roughly 14K for closing costs and prepaids. That's about $27,000 total. That's not using DC Open Doors. Then a 3% down conventional loan means roughly 11K down and roughly 14K for closing costs. So that's about $25,000 without the program. Now with the program, you pay no down payment and you have only about $14,000 for closing costs and prepaids at that price point. And that's before you take into account that the fact that your agent can negotiate for the seller to pay for some of those closing costs. So let's say we had that happen for you. Okay, so if you got a 1.5% seller subsidy or another $5,600 roughly at this price point, you'd only need about $8,000 on closing day. Now a 3% subsidy, meaning roughly a little over $11,000 in help, would mean you only bring about $2,600 on closing day. Okay, so at that point, closing's almost paid for. And you might even qualify for a further first-time buyer credit towards the government closing costs and break that down to 0. So with help from the state and your agent getting the sellers to pay for a little of your closing costs, you could end up bringing nothing on closing day. And this happens sometimes. All right, now you'd usually have to offer to increase the purchase price to get the sellers to help with the closing costs, but the increase in your payment coming from that increasing purchase price is usually marginal and it's beneficial to you. So that's why I did a whole video on this one loan program. It's that popular, widely used, and very effective. Now for some necessary notes on the program. You don't have to be a first-time buyer to get this. It's geared towards first-time home buyers, but you can still get this even if you've owned a home before. They just won't allow you to buy this if you already own something else. You can't have a cosigner, and this has to be a primary, aka owner-occupied residence. You can close this in about 30 to 40 days. It's not the fastest time frame, and we do a lot faster on other loans, but that's still typical for the industry is 30-day closing time. This does have an income limit. You can't have over roughly $154,800 worth of annual combined income on the application. And one final thing is that you have to take and pass a test on your homeowner knowledge, but only before closing. You don't have to do that before you apply or even before you go under contract. Now for figuring out payments, if you have more questions, call me, email me. That's why I do these videos. I want you to watch these to then eventually engage with me offline at some point so we can get you into a house. You can't just buy a house with just watching these videos. You're not Jennifer Garner. You won't just magically wake up one day, fast forward in life, in a house without having taken any action first. But thank you for watching. And please subscribe, keep watching, and do yourself a favor and watch my first playlist called Guiding Your Mortgage, Learn Mortgage in an Hour. That's if you want to know more. If you don't know anything at all, that's where you want to go to start. It's going to teach you everything that I would want to know if I didn't know anything about the mortgage process myself. It's about an hour long. It's chopped into 3 parts, and then there's tons of other great videos on the channel too after you're done with those. So thanks again, and I hope to see you there.